Hi everyone. As promised, I have uploaded the PowerPoint that I presented during the lecture. Because we did not finish police power, I did want to say a bit about this. The police power stems from the 10th Amendment. It is an inherent power of every state and local government to enact criminal laws to promote public health, safety, and welfare. Only the state has this inherent power. The federal government does not. The federal government has very specific, limited powers that we will discuss more in chapter 2 coming up for this following week. But the 10th Amendment is basically how the state and local government, they get to enact laws for our health, safety, and welfare. It's why they get to tell us what we can and cannot do. They get to regulate conduct by making it a crime or a civil offense, such as a parking ticket. Police power is limited. States and local governments cannot create a law that violates the U.S. Constitution or the state constitution. It requires balance. It means that they can maintain public order, but also have to always preserve our basic freedoms. Look at pages 11 and 12 where it talks more about this. In addition to not violating the Constitution, the state has to show that there is a compelling public need to regulate the conduct. The language of the law has to clearly tell people what they cannot do. People do not have to guess what a law means. They have to be put on sufficient notice. Another term we did not get to talk about is nolla poena sine lege, which is a principle of legality, means there can be no punishment without a law for it. This is discussed in detail in the book. Other limitations of the police power is the ex post facto provision provided in the Constitution that basically says that Congress and the states cannot create a law that makes conduct committed before the law was in place a crime. So it's also known as after the fact law. You cannot create a law that punishes conduct that was not illegal before that law. Ex post facto also forbids laws that make punishment more serious or aggravated. And also ex post facto forbids laws that increase punishment and change the legal rules of evidence. So for example, you can't say, oh, now we're going to decide that prosecutors don't have to prove a person is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. They only have to prove it by a preponderance of the evidence, which is more likely than not, versus beyond a reasonable doubt being the highest burden ever, which it should be when you are faced with possibly depriving someone of their liberty. Here are some other limitations. This is all discussed in Chapter 1. Bill of Attainder, a legislative act cannot inflict punishment without a trial. The Due Process Clause applies to the federal government through the 5th Amendment, and it applies to the states through the 14th Amendment. But it basically states that no person can be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process. And this applies to laws created by the federal government and by the states. This also includes states from protecting criminal conduct, or traveling, such as traveling. We get to travel. If say over the Labor Day weekend you wanted to go to Arizona, you get to do that without anyone questioning you. You have a right to travel. You have a right to do what you choose in your home without being subject to a police officer knocking on the door and just asking, hey, what are you up to? For a police officer to come to your door, they have to have a warrant, which is based on probable cause to believe that a crime is taking place in your home. Other limitations, void for vagueness. Please see page 23 regarding this, but this is more where the Constitution requires that the laws are written in a way that people can understand them. They're not guessing at them. Overbreadth doctrine means the Constitution forbids laws that are so broad that they interfere with individual freedom. Equal protection states must treat all people alike in enacting criminal and civil laws, but also in enforcing those laws. So that's the end of the PowerPoint, but I just wanted to go over those terms go over the rest of it with you. If you look at page 23 and 24, it gives examples of an overbreath doctrine, an example of a vague statute. So just pay attention to that. But I wanted you to have this video along with the PowerPoint. Thank you very much.